Welcome, everybody, once again to the only show that takes a look at sales pipelines. So grab your board, catch a wave, and ride along with Matt Hines from Hines Marketing. Hey, Matt.
How we doing, Paul?
I'm doing good. We're pre-taping this one today. Are we not supposed to let the cat out of the bag here?
Well, it doesn't really matter the answer to that question now, does it? Well, it's fine. I was actually going to say, through the magic of technology, you are listening to live radio when I am sitting somewhere completely different than doing this show. But no, thanks to Paul, our awesome producer, and our great team behind us on Sales Pipeline Radio. We are recording this show a little bit early due to some conflicts on our usual live date. So if you wanted to call in, we'll take advantage of calls next week or a couple weeks after.
That's right.
Every week on Thursday at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, you can catch Sales Pipeline Radio right here. You can also catch our past episodes at salespipelineradio.com. You can catch us in podcast format anytime and always have access to the newest episodes on Google Play and the iTunes Store. And you can check out a transcript of some of our best guests available at hinesmarketing.com on our blog. So really excited today to feature a friend of mine. I can't believe, it's funny, like we were talking the other day, and I can't believe we haven't had him as a guest on the show to this point, because he's become so influential in the sales management space, has published a number of great tips, and has a new report out on sales management trends that we're excited to talk about today, and just a good guy overall. So we've got Steve Rosen. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Matt. How about yourself?
I am great. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Thanks for being flexible and recording this a little bit early. It sounds like it's going to work for both of us. I'm going to be predisposed tomorrow, and you've got some important playoff baseball to attend to.
I do. We're not there yet, but we're in first place. So let's go.
This is my point. I don't mean to jinx it. Look, I'm a Cubs fan, so if there's anybody who's going to do any jinxing around here, I'm the one that's got to worry about that. You've at least won a World Series in the last century or so. Well, thanks very much for joining us today. You've been someone that I just, and I'm not just saying this because you're a guest on the show. I mean, I've just learned a ton from what you've written and the insights you provided, just getting to know you a little bit through the event circuit, but also just reading your stuff. And so maybe just start off, let people know who you are, and sort of, I think of you as really a sales management and leadership development expert, but talk a little bit about where you focus and the things you're seeing in the market today.
Okay, well, thank you, Matt. I don't want to go back too far, but when I started my career, I started in sales and quickly progressed into sales management roles and ended up running, I guess, 3 divisions at my first company that I worked for as VP of sales and marketing. So I did some marketing, never had a product manager job, but was responsible for marketing. Then I went to another larger organization as VP of sales, and I had really good success, although I did come from the school of hard knocks. I made my share of mistakes and, never really got any training how to be a sales leader. I kind of learned through trial and error. And for the last 13 years after I left industry, I made it my goal to help other sales leaders develop, be successful, help them lead with, with an authentic leadership style. And at the end of the day, all sales leaders, besides leading, they want to crush their sales numbers. And that's what we help them do. I love to do it one-on-one because it's very gratifying, working with people. And, yes, we do have a new study out, which we're very excited about. I guess it depends if you want to look at the glass half full or the glass half empty.
Well, there's a lot of great insight in this. I want to get into that. We're talking to Stephen Rosen today. You can find him and a lot of his great content at starresults.com. Stephen, you have published a number of great tools. I know that you've got your sales manager success guide, your 52 sales management tips. So, if you're a sales manager, if you manage sales managers, definitely check out starresults.com. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about your 2016 sales manager report. I mean, I was reading through this the other day, and just to your point, there's good news and there's room for improvement, clearly, in what you've done in the market. So talk a little bit about some of the key takeaways from this year's survey.
Sure, Matt. So we set out to understand what the trends are in development. Our belief is there's 5 key or 5 core skills that are essential to be a great sales manager. One being coaching, performance management, hiring, business acumen, and leadership. And of course, there's many others, but these are the 5 core skills we look at. And there's a variety of things we look at, and people are welcome to download the report either through Matt, or I can give you a URL on our site. And the bottom line is the first thing we looked at was asking respondents who are sales leaders around the world and saying, okay, does your company support sales manager development in one of these 5 areas or each of these 5 areas? And if you kind of put it into a nutshell, we're finding that half the companies are supporting sales manager development and ongoing sales manager development, which is the glass half full. The glass half empty is really, folks, 50% of managers are not getting any type of ongoing development and support. We think that's a catastrophe. You know, as Matt said, there's opportunities, but that means a lot of sales managers are operating out there without any support, you know, any at least company support to improve and get better at their trade. And I know, moving from a sales rep to a manager without any training, as I said, I went through the school of hard knocks.
You know, it's just, as I heard you talking, I'm just, in my mind, I'm like, this is crazy, like, that people wouldn't invest in this. You know, I think there's people who invest in management training, which is great, but sales management is a different animal. And the compounding impact of not helping your managers become better, and the compounding impact that has then on the reps who end up flailing, who end up on their own, and then we're not hitting their number, get frustrated. And at best, they're not hitting their number. At worst, they then churn at a higher rate, and you have to go replace them, which, as we all know, is very expensive. So, I mean, I don't mean to do that. Glass is half empty, but for those, you know, listening that either need to better prioritize sales management training or want some better fodder, talk a little bit about the down level impact in a negative way of not having your sales reps trained and more effective.
100%. I mean, you know, it's interesting because my view of the world, and certainly I don't believe self-serving, because I've worked in industry. You know, I'm not a large organization. I'm a thought leader in this area, and I definitely work with people. But to me, the foundation of a sales organization, and, you know, as a marketer, and some people will say, you know, sales is a marketing tactic, which at times I used to say when I was head of a business unit. So a lot of companies are fully invested in their sales force as their key driver for sales performance, right?
Yep.
So, you know, if you look at it, you're spending lots of money on salaries and travel and entertainment. You know, the answer now to sales-related problems, and to me, is, okay, let's get sales enablement. You know, let's get technology. Let's get this app. Let's get that app. And I think those are great. They do improve productivity. I'm not quite sure how they improve performance. But I'll share the stats that have come out of other organizations in terms of the impact the frontline sales manager makes on sales. CEB did a groundbreaking study, because everybody quotes it, saying that, you know, sales manager coaching is the number one sales management activity that drives sales performance. And in fact, you know, great coaches drive 19% more sales than their ineffective counterparts. They also found that in terms of skill sets, and relatively looking at different skill sets, managers rank the lowest on coaching. Yet when we look specifically at coaching, well, 53% of companies are providing some support in terms of coaching, training, and development. So the upside's just focusing on one specific skill set, or if you look at conversely, you know, those other 47% of companies who, one, probably don't train very well or don't have well-trained managers. We also look at the process and understanding of their coaching methodology, and only 44% of companies had a well-defined, well-understood coaching methodology. So, you know, for me, you know, if this is the foundation of performance in an organization, I say, okay, well, maybe this is a plausible answer, because everyone's looking for the silver bullet as to why so many sales reps don't meet quota and why so many companies are failing to meet quota. Anyway, that's sort of my thinking. So I think there's lots of opportunities, and I'm glad to share this information with your audience and your listeners.
And you've been super generous. We're talking to Stephen Rosen, who is the author of the new 2016 Sales Manager Survey. He is also the author of a number of great tools and reports that I think you can find on your website, starresults.com. He multiple time winner of top 50 sales influencers, top sales and marketing blog, top 50 sales books, some really great stuff. And before we wrap before we get to our commercial break, just are there any particular tools that you want to really most people focus on, and then is it best to give them access to your website, or where should people go?
Well, you know what, probably, Matt, thank you for the plug. And, one of the things that we've developed as we started seeing the information come in from the survey is we developed a program for sales managers, teach them how to coach them how to coach, and assess them in terms of coaching, which we call the STAR Sales Management Development Program. You can actually get there through our site. And of course we do one-on-one coaching, but this is sort of built on best practices in skill mastery. So we're not just selling a training program, we're actually helping sales managers become great coaches. And there's so many out there that at the end of the day, are not getting it from their companies. My view of the world is it has changed, and folks who seek out opportunities to develop, whether they use the web, books, online programs, free training, which we'll be offering as well. If you go to my site, there'll be a pop-up. We're offering a free training session on how to lead on September 15th. And there are so many resources. So we're offering one, which is a premium one, but one that managers who are sort of willing to invest in their own future can access outside the corporate world.
Talking to Steve Rosen today on Sales Pipeline Radio. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about who's coming up on the show, get deeper into some of Steven's sales management advice, and a lot more. You're listening to Sales Pipeline Radio.
In a world where the speed of innovation and change in B2B marketing has never been greater, the only thing bigger is the need for clarity, for a blueprint, for a guide to what's really working. And how about a way to apply it specifically today to increase sales pipeline growth, velocity, and most of all, conversion? That's what you'll find in the Modern Marketer's Field Guide. And amazingly, you can download it for free. HeinzMarketing.com, just like it sounds, HeinzMarketing. It encompasses the entire sales and marketing cycle, but in quick bursts with lots of specific, actionable ideas, strategies, tactics you can put to work right away, like today. The loaded table of contents helps you narrow in and tackle a problem. And it's something you can come back to over and over again as a reference guide. Why not download your free copy of the Modern Marketer's Field Guide? It's free. HeinzMarketing.com, just like it sounds. HEINZ Marketing.com.
Whether you're producing a seminar series, users conference, lunch and learn, or exhibiting at a trade show, Validar has a solution. From capturing leads at trade shows to managing on-site registration, tracking session attendance, gathering information, and providing sponsors lead retrieval, we have a full suite of solutions for you. Since 2005, Validar has been turning corporate events and trade shows into better business. Call 888-784-2929 or visit us at validar.com.
And now back to Matt and his guest.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Paul. We got a great set of guests coming up on Sales Pipeline Radio in the next few weeks. Excited to have Steven Rosen with us today to talk about sales management and sales leadership training. Next week, catch us back live at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific on Thursdays, every Thursday. Next week, we'll feature David Fortino, who is from Netline Corp. He's going to be talking about lead generation, how new technology is helping us get a lot more targeted in our efforts to get to the right person with the right message, which benefits both sides. And after that, we've got Ken Thoresen, who I know, Stephen, you know as well, who is another sales thought leader, someone well-respected in this space. Going to talk a lot more about sales leadership. And, we have a pretty diverse audience here at Sales Pipeline Radio, even though we call it Sales Pipeline Radio, Stephen. It's very much targeted at the entire pipeline and not just sales and marketing professionals. So we tend to have a lot of sales thought leader guests, and it's really on purpose because I think it's really important to make sure that, we're not only teaching salespeople how to get better, but also making sure that the marketers who listen understand the sales mindset. So when you're doing sales management training, what's the implication of that for marketing? Are there things that marketers can do from a sales enablement standpoint, or just from a coordination and leadership standpoint to support the important work that sales managers are doing as well?
That's a great question, and I'm going to shift gears here a little bit away from the study because that actually is a subject and that's near and dear to my heart. Now is the time, at least in my world, where many companies are building their marketing plans and getting approvals from corporate offices, global offices for 2017. Is that correct? What are your clients, Matt?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So, and you would know this far better than myself, countless amounts of time are spent by the marketers to build brand plans, tactics, budgets, forecasts for the following year. There's slide decks prepared. There's presentations and dry runs, and hours are spent. Marketers it's probably the most stressful time of the year when they've got to go up and present their plans for next year. And I look at that and I say, wow, the marketers have a very rigorous process to do brand analysis, brand planning, strategies, tying strategies into tactics. And once they get approval, everyone kind of finishes off the year hoping they hit their numbers that they had estimated. And then my biggest question is, what happens after that? And what I'm asking the question is, how much time is spent on planning execution and aligning both the sales and marketing team? And I think that's probably one of the biggest gaps, and who's responsible, I don't know. But if you're running a business unit, then I look at the business unit manager who has both sales and marketing responsibilities to really look at how can they execute effectively, and maybe not take the same amount of time, but close to it in terms of actually planning effective execution. So again, as I said, my focus, Matt, is on helping companies crush their sales numbers. And this has come up time and time again with my clients, and many folks I deal with are sort of business unit heads, and, I've started working with marketers. But, the biggest challenge, I think, outside the development of sales managers is really effectively executing and taking great strategy and turning that into sales. And I think there's many ways that can be improved.
Well, and you talk a lot about process, you talk a lot about systems, and, I think it's easy to hear you talk about that and think, oh, that's the boring stuff, and it's just not very sexy. But I have rarely found an effective sales manager that is purely a rah-rah coach that can get up and get people excited for a Monday morning, but is incapable of actually coaching skills and performance improvements of their sales team. So talk a little bit more about the importance of process and systems. It may not be what everyone loves to think about, but it really is foundational to being more successful as a manager as well as a frontline rep.
Okay. And you're right. Selling is a process, right? Mm-hmm. That's why we have selling methodologies. Marketing is a process, right? That's why we have sort of this brand planning. Some companies are just phenomenal at it. So when it comes to sales management, we tend to be a lot more lackadaisical than on the actual selling side or on the marketing side. And people always ask me, Stephen, what's the best selling model out there? And I have no idea. But what I do know is the one that's understood and used is the one that's the best. Because if you follow a good process, you're going to get better results. So in terms of how that applies to the sales manager, we looked at the same 5 core areas, and we looked at process and methodology. So let me give some tips from a coaching perspective on how to really effectively coach through a process. And it really is starting with asking effective questions. The sales manager who goes out and tells sales reps what to do is going to be ineffective, because guess what? Nobody wants to be told what to do. Matt, I'm sure when when your spouse says, Matt, can you do this? You think, oh my God, I don't want to do that. This is the day and age we live in. So, the first step managers can take themselves is just be aware when they're asking versus telling. Second step as a process is really getting individuals to self-evaluate, because if you have a great manager, they're out with a sales rep once a month, which is really 1 day in 20. What happens the other 19 days? Well, they have to self-coach or self-manage. So, getting your sales reps to be self-aware, self-evaluate, because when you're not there, they're going to be coaching themselves. I know it's a complicated step. And then we sort of look at sort of a very simple process, self-evaluation, really having the rep drive their own development. So, coaching is a process of improving skills and competencies. You can only improve so many at one time, otherwise you get overload. And we work on a very focused approach, pick one area, maybe 2, focus on that. And then as a next step, I hope the process helps, is we have the rep define how they're going to improve in that skill set, not the manager. And the manager's role, which is step 4, is really holding the sales rep accountable to the plan that they build and write on how they're going to improve. And that is a very simplistic process, but if you can follow that, if you make each one of your reps better in one core skill area, you're going to get better performance.
It's important. I mean, and I love that you talk about doing this incrementally. I think a lot of people try to do like an all or nothing, and they say I need to have the whole plan in place, or it's not worth it. And time and again, we see studies that show that incremental improvement really moves the ball forward. This is not a black and white issue. I saw recently some stats on sales and marketing working together and its impact on, likelihood of sales hitting their number. And if you move from 0 sales and marketing interaction to ineffective sales and marketing interaction,
right,
you actually move the needle, right? And so, those little things that you mentioned, if for those listening that don't have any system in place, or if you're in marketing and you want to recommend an early step for some of your sales managers and sales leadership, is a great way to do it. Wrapping up here with Stephen Rosen, who is one of Canada's leading sales coaches and thought leaders, and I know is well thought of at least in a number of circles, and well regarded, and it has a number of clients throughout North America as well. Let's talk real quick before we wrap up, because I know we just got a couple minutes. Any other highlights from your survey, and just let people know, other than just going to starresults.com, where can they find the survey as well as some of your other sales management best practices?
Okay, great question. Well, there was 3 core areas that came out. I spoke about one, supportive sales managers and core areas, which, I guess you can decide whether the glass is half full or half empty. The same thing with key sales management processes. We're around the 50% mark in terms of having well understood processes and organizations. The third finding that came out is that only a third of companies have formal training to support new managers be successful. And this is really, if you're looking at someone from marketing who's transitioning into a sales management role, or a sales rep transitioning to a sales management role, we know that I think it's 48% of them fail in the first 18 months. Mm-hmm. Well, it's pretty obvious that 2/3 of the companies are doing nothing for them. They're throwing them out there. And that's why I speak to the fact that I'm from the school of hard knocks, because I was just sent out there. Every promotion I got, I was just sent out there. And somehow, through serendipity or, luck, or maybe a little bit of smarts, I figured my way out. Now that I've had a chance to study it and look at it, I've become a lot better and hopefully help managers on that. But, the odds are against the new sales manager. And the odds are 50-50 for a sales manager to really, hit their max. So, there's lots of opportunities. As I said earlier, the foundation for performance is your frontline sales managers, and I really suggest companies take a different look at how much they invest, because it's usually a 1 for 10, so the impact gets multiplied by 10 if you improve sales management skills versus a sales rep skill. If you want to get a copy of the report, the URL is www.starresults.com/sales manager report /. Very simple to find. Matt, I believe I've sent you a copy, and I welcome you to send it out to your folks if anybody wants it, or feel free to come to my site. If you do, there's also a program for sales managers called the Star Sales Management Development Program, which is really targeted at folks who are not getting it from their corporation and want to invest in their own development. And it by far rocks over any program that a corporation can bring, because it includes 6 months of ongoing coaching. Nobody offers that type of program. So we think we're revolutionary in what we're offering. The learning component is online on-demand video, which is a new way of delivery for me. And of course, we have online assessments. So as much as it's a simplified program, it's actually very sophisticated in how we create master sales coaches.
Awesome. Thanks very much. We're really excited, and want to thank our guest today, Stephen Rosen, who's joining us live from the Great White North up in Canada. If you want to learn more about Stephen, check him out at starresults.com, STAR results.com. You can check out a replay of this presentation on salespipelineradio.com. You can catch all of our past guests and all of our past episodes on salespipelineradio.com, as well as on Google Play and the iTunes Store. We'll catch you next week here, same time, same location. 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific at Sales Pipeline Radio. Got a bunch of new guests to round out the end of Q3 and hit the stretch run for 2016. This is Matt Hines. Thanks for joining us on Sales Pipeline Radio.
You've been listening to the only place that talks about sales pipelines with the master himself, Matt Hines from Hines Marketing.